Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Germany has agreed to significantly increase its defense budget, allocating an additional 100 billion euros to the Bundeswehr. So what will the Germans spend the extra money on? Will Germany have to rethink its spending plans? Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll figure out what can the German army buy with the extra 100 billion euros. Before we get into the video, don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that the post notifications are turned on so that you never miss a video from us. Without further ado, let's dive in. There would have been multiple strands if you had asked analysts just a fortnight ago what the key aspects of Germany's approach to foreign and defense policy were. Aligning with the West would have been a feature, as would membership in the EU and NATO. Striking for strong transatlantic ties would be another, not least because the country has been scarred by former President Donald Trump's frequent public and bellicose criticism. However, a third strand would have been considerable caution in negotiations with the EU, particularly in questions of defense policy. Germany has always avoided committing troops to joint operations or even sending weaponry into active war situations. Instead, it is concentrated on diplomatic and economic assistance. These long-held principles of German foreign policy have been shattered almost overnight. In a strong speech to the German parliament, Chancellor Olaf Scholz steered the country in a new direction, declaring the Russian invasion of Ukraine and Vladimir Putin's cold-blooded war to be a watershed moment for Europe. Scholz's response is most notable for a rapid and large increase in defense spending. For the renewal of Germany's increasingly antiquated military forces, a 100 billion euro fund has been proposed. Scholz has pledged to increase Germany's defense spending to 2% of GDP, up from the current 1.4%, which has been loudly criticized as inadequate by Donald Trump and discreetly disliked by Germany's other NATO members. Germany will also provide Ukraine with defense weapons, having been heavily criticized for not doing so just days before, and indeed even blocking the export of such weapons from Estonia. Germany will now back the removal of Russian banks from the SWIFT payment network after procrastinating. It'll also make rapid investments in order to lessen its reliance on Russian energy. Scholz was chastised for Germany's tardiness in responding to the Russian threat. He had just called the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia and Germany a private sector project in December, implying that it didn't need to be blocked. But in his speech to the Bundestag, he went further than even the most seasoned analysts expected. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Germany has agreed to significantly increase its defense budget, allocating an additional 100 billion euros to the Bundeswehr. What will it do with the funds? Only two black dots are visible at first in the bright blue sky above the Eifel area in Germany's far west. The dots then form the silhouettes of two F-35 fighter planes, with their engines roaring louder and louder. The jets are flying back to the U.S. Air Force Base Spangdahlem in the east, where they've been flying patrols over Poland near the Ukrainian border. In the face of Russian aggression, U.S. troops have stationed 12 planes there to monitor NATO airspace over Eastern Europe. These stealth fighter jets are the world's most advanced multi-role fighter jets. The Bundeswehr wants to buy some to replace 45 antiquated Tornado planes from the 1970s that can transport American nuclear weapons stored in Germany. Until now, it felt as if that wish was out of reach. On February 27th, however, Chancellor Olaf Scholz surprised everyone by announcing a one-time special budget of 100 billion euros, $110.6 billion for the Bundeswehr. The Bundeswehr isn't only interested in F-35 combat jets, it's also looking for funding for the Future Combat Air System, FCAS, a plane that Germany and France are working on together. The upgrade of large transport helicopters and the upgrading of the Patriot air defense missile system is next on the list. Drones with weapons, such as those produced by Israel and sophisticated warships, are also on the want list. However, security expert Claudia Major has warned that the Bundeswehr will not be able to go on a huge shopping spree immediately due to a backlog. The Bundeswehr decreased dramatically after the Cold War ended in 1990. Despite an increase in its budget to about 46 billion euros, it still faces a material and equipment shortfall. Purchases of significant weapons equipment, such as transport planes, helicopters, and warships, have often been blocked. Money that had not been spent by the end of the year had vanished, and the Bundeswehr had no way of planning for the future. The Bundeswehr has more fundamental requirements as well. Ammunition, fighting boots, and even underwear are in short supply. The Bundestag's Defense Commissioner Eva Hogel recently released a report on the position of German NATO soldiers in Lithuania That sounded like a bad joke. Hogel described how the soldiers needed heavy jackets and undergarments to keep them dry and warm during a visit to the region during the severe Lithuanian winter. How can that be a concern for soldiers in one of the world's wealthiest countries' armed forces? Money, on the other hand, will not suffice. The Bundeswehr's procurement of weapons and materials in the past was frequently disorganized and slowed by excessive bureaucracy. For example, a 2015 purchase of 120,000 combat weapons have been bogged down in legal wrangling and is yet to be fulfilled. The German arms sector is currently anticipating substantial orders, and its stock prices have increased sharply in recent days. Roderick Kaiserwetter, a CDU foreign policy expert, has cautioned against hasty judgments. He stated that the German government most carefully analyzed how the projected billions would be spent, as well as what is most urgent. Kaiserwetter, like most of his other party's members in the Bundestag, opposes the resumption of obligatory military service. Under Merkel's leadership, this was put on hold in 2011. He claimed that the Bundeswehr no longer had the capacity to train and equip conscripts, and that doing so would be costly and time-consuming. Despite this, the Bundeswehr wishes to expand its ranks. On ZDF television, Germany's highest-ranking military, Inspector General Herbert Zorn, set a goal of 203,000 soldiers, 20,000 more than there are now. Following the conclusion of the Cold War, the Bundeswehr began to focus more on overseas deployments, such as in the Balkans, Afghanistan, and Mali. Its mission has shifted back to supplying an army dedicated to defending its own country and close allies. Will Germany have to rethink its expenditure plans in the aftermath of the Ukraine invasion? One of the most important questions that Germany's Ministry of Defense will have to consider is whether the spending plans put in place years before Russia's invasion of Ukraine are still appropriate for the country after the attack. Last week, Germany became the first country to initiate a national security policy process while the Ukraine conflict is still underway. They hope to have it ready early next year, but doubts have already been raised about whether the wish list of the big-ticket military goods drawn up long before the Ukraine conflict is still needed now, given what we've learned about Russian capabilities and tactics, strengths and weaknesses. Could Germany's purchase intentions serve as an example to other European nations? Could Germany's large investment in military spending persuade other European countries to devote more budget resources to upgrading or modernizing their armed forces? According to Martin Hurt, a research fellow at Estonia's International Center for Defense and Security, Germany's action may have influenced Denmark and Sweden's decision to fulfill the NATO aim of spending 2% of GDP on defense. Nevertheless, there isn't the same sense of urgency in those two Nordic countries as there is in Germany, with Denmark giving itself until 2033 to meet the 2% target, while Sweden, which isn't a NATO member, hasn't set a specific deadline. There appears to be a majority consensus in Parliament to meet the target by 2025. Interoperability, according to analysts, is one of the most crucial things European countries need to sort out, especially if they're revising their military budget. During the 2008 economic crisis, when most EU countries began slashing their defense budgets, they did so without any cooperation. Many of the same capabilities were being scaled back as a result. With this, we've come to the end. What do you think about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? Do let us know in the comments section below. Subscribe for more content just like this one and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and also press the bell icon to get notified about our new videos. Until then, fellas,